Jessica Alstrom, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive, and quantum integration specialist, answers your spiritual questions and assists you through understanding your personal process while providing tools and techniques to move swiftly through the journey back to light.
Good afternoon, this is Jessica Alstrom, and I am doing a podcast today on basically how to get everything you want very quickly, how to get what you want fast. I'm actually doing this podcast for my class that I teach, my life coaching certification group, through my academy, my online forum. We call ourselves the Quantum Light Coaches, and because we're training to use the quantum field to not just teach, but to become powerful manifestors and deliberate creators of our own lives. So if you're interested in that, check that out afterwards. But I'm doing this podcast because for my students in particularly, we want to be able to self-sustain ourselves as we're going through the training. A lot of us who are going through the training are still working other jobs and have other responsibilities and are living with people with very different belief systems that we're trying to basically out-create within ourselves. Most of us, if we're listening to this podcast, we've already studied a lot. We understand law of attraction. We understand the basic principles of the universe. But for some reason, there's that disconnect between really understanding information and being able to live the information, and being able to be a product of the information. And that is where I am a big advocate of, it doesn't really matter what you know. If you're not living it, then what's the point of studying? If you're not living law of attraction, if law of attraction is living you, and you aren't being a deliberate creator of your reality, I don't care how many books about law of attraction you've read. You will be frustrated, and you might even be a great teacher of how it works, but your personal life will not reflect the knowledge and wisdom that you've got in your mindset. It's not going to be delivered if you're not practicing it. So that's what I want to do. Is today I want to talk all about frequency and vibration. And this is not going to be over your head. None of my teaching is usually over anyone's head unless they don't have, any basis of any spiritual teachings at all. But I like to teach it about a 4th grade level because I like people to really understand without having to get technical and spiritual, how life works. Everything in the universe is frequency and vibration. And if you've listened to my other podcasts, you know that I talk a lot about law of attraction because it is the law of magnetic force. It is the law of your resonance. It is the law of who you are being in any given situation. And it is reflecting back to you an exact match of who you are portraying yourself to be. So if we look at that, then we're just playing a character. We're just playing a character who is going on about their lives, and we've got our backstory, we've got our circumstances, we've got our events, we've got our strong points, we've got our weaknesses, and we are going through life basically attracting the other characters, the props, the situations, the circumstances that will help us play out that character's role. So law of attraction can only respond to who you think you are. Law of attraction can only respond to what you're putting out in the universe. And what you're putting out in the universe is a vibration. It is like a song that your soul keeps singing or your body keeps singing out into the cosmos. And it is coming back with a perfect match. And so I hope you understand that because we're going to go deep into that today. So vibration and frequency, let's look at that. If you're a student, then you've got the vibrational tone scale that we use that is from joy to grief and every aspect in between that lets you know exactly what you're going to attract based on exactly how you're feeling. And so you can become a really deliberate creator of your reality because at the end of the day, you don't need to run out and get a new job. You don't need to find a new boyfriend. You don't need to find a new house because I promise you, if you try to do that without fixing your vibration and your thought patterns, you will recycle the same situations from the past because law of attraction doesn't care if you've changed homes. It's watching what you're thinking and feeling and believing. And you will definitely get a new home and feel great. You will move up to joy. But as soon as you get comfortable in that space, all that old stuff that you ran away from will all still be there. So how do we raise our vibration? Well, if you look at the emotional tone scale, at the very, very top, it is the highest frequency that a human can feel, which is unconditional love, is gratitude, is appreciation. And that is real love. You know, fear-based love is not real love. The love that you're afraid you're going to lose is not real love. That's fear. So as we start to move down that emotional tone scale, we go gratitude and excitement and passion and joy and bliss and understanding and contentment, and then we move into boredom, and then we move down into, you know, frustration, anxiety, worry, guilt, shame, fear, uncertainty, right? We start to move down, and if vibration is what universe is listening to, then you can't feel guilty and manifest what you want. You can't feel worried and manifest what you want. You can't feel angry all the time and have a life that's not filled with angry moments, because the universe is not really caring what you want yourself to be. It's caring who you actually believe yourself to be. It is the character that you have defined for yourself. And that's why when we start this process of becoming a deliberate creator of our reality, we have to kind of take stock and see, you know, who our character has actually become, because your character wasn't even defined by you initially. It was defined by, you know, your family dynamic, and your name you didn't even choose. You know, you didn't choose your religious background, you didn't choose where you lived, you didn't choose any of these things, but this is so your backstory. And if you haven't gone in and changed the beliefs about those things within yourselves, then law of attraction is still going to be responding to who you think you are. You know, I've had people say, well, this is just who I am, just deal with it. And I'm like, okay, so this is the character that you are recreating over and over again, and you're so in a belief system with that the law of attraction is going to keep continuing to bring you exactly who you believe yourself to be. What I find with a lot of spiritual people is that they have a really great understanding of, you know, spiritual teachings, and they understand the laws of the universe, and they love reading the information, and they love studying, and they love teaching, and they love helping people, but they aren't practicing their own personal vibration in their own reality, and therefore they don't even get to live the byproducts of what they're teaching. They don't even get to live the stories in the books and the techniques in the books, because they're not putting it to practical application. So that's the difference between having what you want and wanting what you want, is practice. Think about it. You've been practicing this character your whole life. You might be trying to get away from this character, but now you're just the character who's trying to run away from your character. You're not actually a different character. Think about it. Think about who your character really is. Take stock for a minute and look at yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at how you see yourself. Look at the job that you have. Look at how your interactions are with your families. Look at how you feel about money. Look at how you feel about health and potentials for healing, and think about how you feel about the government, and think about how you feel about spirituality, and think about how you feel about people, places, and circumstances that are helping you create your reality right now, and really see if any of that is what you want. You know, is it just a byproduct of who you've been? Do you feel like you're in the wrong movie? If I asked you to define what kind of movie you were in right now, what kind of movie would it be? And would it be a horror movie, a romantic comedy, an action thriller, a drama? Most people's lives are dramas, honestly. They want so much for things to be different, and then nothing ever changes. Or, they manifest something they want, and then it's taken away. And if you've listened to my podcast, The Dark Side of Law of Attraction, I basically go into depth on, you're not attracting what you want. You're attracting what you are on all three levels: conscious, unconscious, and subconscious. So if there's unconscious parts of you that are victimized and worried and shameful and guilty, law of attraction is still going to respond to those aspects of you. So when we do this kind of character, when we take stock of our character, we really want to be honest with ourselves, because you know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks of you. It only matters what you think of you. And if you're really going to try to create a new life for yourself, you need to stop listening to what other people think about you anyways, and start getting serious about what you think. Because you can't make changes to your character until you get real with yourself, until you fully accept holy moly, I have been playing this character of this victim my entire life. Like, I'm a professional victim. You know, if I had you write out your character's script and the description of who you were, what would it look like? You know, what it would look like, oh, come from nice Catholic family, you know, went all the way through school, working, 60 hours a week, miserable, no energy to play with my kids. Like, where are you really? Like, let's really look at your life, because I know most of the time you're focused on what you want, and you're focused on how to get it, and you're focused on your desires, and you're focused on, moving forward. But there's a big part of you that is saying, nope, this is who we are. This is who we are. This is who we've always been. Nothing's going to ever change. And so if we don't take stock of that part of ourselves, and we don't recognize and accept the aspects of ourselves that are not playing the characters that we want them to play, then we're never going to have changes. We're going to have highs and lows, and our manifestations are going to be constantly great and then tainted by somehow, or they'll be bittersweet, or we'll get the money and lose the money. Because there's three aspects of you that's sending a signal to the universe, and it's mirroring back exactly what you think, feel, and believe about yourself, which means law of attraction is going to manifest your deepest, darkest secrets. It's going to manifest your biggest fears. It's going to manifest your dreams too, but if you're feeling both of those things, shame and guilt and joy at the same time, then that's pretty much what you're going to do. You're going to have a job that brings you joy, but you don't make any money at it, so you're going to feel shameful about that. You see where I'm going? So frequency and vibration is all about understanding what you're emitting at any given moment so that it can come back to you more deliberate, which means that when you start being a dominant creator of your own frequency, which means you are choosing the thoughts, you are choosing new beliefs, you are choosing the feelings that are going to be communicating to law of attraction. You're doing the shadow work. You're pulling from the subconscious, and you're doing healing on those aspects of you that you've disassociated from. Then what starts to happen is you start to rise up, and you no longer fall down in the lower energies. You don't longer fall down in the lower densities of fear, shame, guilt, worry, suppression, secrets. You no longer live in that vibration, and therefore your vibration raises. Therefore your manifestations and your character starts to become more of the hero and less of the victim of your own life. And I think that's what we all want. I mean, I think that's why we actually begin a spiritual journey, is because we want to be the hero of our own life. We don't want to be in codependent relationships. We don't want to depend on our job or our spouse or our mother or our father or our brother or sister, whoever. We don't want to depend on them. But we don't really believe that there's a different way. And so that is the character that you're playing. My character is codependent. Okay. Trust me, I've played that character many years. And I was a professional victim. I knew how to play the victim. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not really that strong and focused on yourself in this process, then it is easier to be a victim for you. Because being a victim, people want to take care of you. It's like a natural element. And you're never going to have a joyful life being the victim. But if you're not really ready to give up that character, then you're never really going to be able to be the deliberate creator of your own reality, because you're not getting help through people. You're not as codependent as you think, because the universe is still going to work through people, places, circumstances, and events, but it's not going to be where you have to kind of give up your authentic self in order to be with someone because they're taking care of you. It won't work that way when you really start to understand how frequency and vibration work, because when you rise up, and you start to take ownership of your vibration, then what starts to happen is the universe starts to change the whole set. It changes the people in your life. It changes the things in your life. It changes the opportunities that that character can play. It changes the props that that character has, because the character can only play with the props that it is the character for. So if I'm the victim, then my stage is going to be a stage of perfect places to be victimized. I'm going to be forever the victim. I'm going to forever need people who are creating that codependence circle for me, and I'm going to constantly have to give up my authentic self in order to be with the relationship so that they will take care of me. And that's just a character that you're playing. So if you want to stop being the victim, you got to stop sending the frequencies to the universe of the character that is the victim. You've got to actually move into the higher levels of frequency, where more independent flow can come from the universe. So what that looks like is if I am worried all the time, and no matter if things are going good, no matter how well things are going, I'm still worried in the back of my mind, then the universe is going to be, oh, my character is the worrywart. So I'm constantly going to create more things to worry about. I'm going to see the horrible things on the news. I'm going to see the car crashes. And what that's going to do is the law of attraction is bringing me what I believe. Therefore, I'm reinforcing my belief system by law of attraction bringing me the situations where I can say, see, the world's not safe. I need help. I can't just quit my job tomorrow. The universe isn't going to take care of me. I promise you, if you truly became the character where you owned the fact that the universe supports you financially, the universe pays you to be you, if you could find that character and start playing that character, and you could practice it 51% of your day, every day, in 3 weeks, your life would completely shift. How do I know? I've done it. I live this way every day. I have totally changed my character, totally, from who my family dynamic was into who I choose to be. Life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. So you have got to create the character that you want, and then you've got to practice. So I wanted to share this little story with you guys because this was like an aha moment for me. I have a stepson, and he plays baseball, and he's one of these baseball players where it's like, he lives baseball. You know, they have like 10 practices a week, and there's hundreds of games, and it's just like his world. And, you know, my husband takes him to all the games and coaches with him, and this is like a full, like, baseball is like who they are. They're baseball. They're baseball players. And so I went one day to be the supportive wife to the practice, and I'm just watching. And I'm watching them. The whole entire hour and a half practice was learning how to throw a certain way. Nothing else, no batting, no pitching, just throwing. And throwing in a different way than they had been throwing before because they were trying to learn a new technique. And what I was watching is this group of 10-year-olds, how much they were struggling where their body wanted to throw the old way. Their body wanted to throw the old way because that's what they had been practicing probably since they were little kids. And so even though the coach is standing right in front of them and saying, twist your hand like this, their body went the wrong way. It went the way that they knew. The body went the way that it was accustomed to. The body went the way that it had learned how to throw. And I could see the frustration coming over their faces because they're like, I'm so frustrated. I don't know why I can't do it. I'm fully present. I'm sending the focus, and my body still is going the wrong way. And they did this for an hour and a half. And I noticed at the end of the practice, there was a few kids that started to just throw this clean throw. And they were practicing, and they're practicing. And the one thing that my husband said to them as they were leaving was, now keep doing this. Keep doing this all week. This is your homework. Do just practice, 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 and we're probably going to be practicing this a lot next time. And you could kind of see some of the kids like, oh man, we wanted to be done with this. And I will tell you that in my coaching business, this is exactly the same thing that I get with my clients. Is if you want to have something you've never had, or you want to learn a new way to live, you've got to practice it. Practicing is the difference between major leagues and sitting watching a major league player from your TV. It's like, are you going to be the major league player, or are you going to sit on the couch and watch someone else do it? And all of you guys who follow spiritual teachers who are like, oh wow, this teacher is so awesome. The only difference between the teacher and the person who's listening to the teacher speak is one is practicing and living, and the other one is listening and observing. That's it. If you would start to put in practice, okay, if you would start to practice different vibrations and different characters and different ideas and start creating out of all of that practice more of who you choose to be, regardless of what your body's used to, regardless of what your mind is used to thinking, then all of a sudden, what would happen is the universe would start saying, oh my gosh, this person is changing their character. we need to give them a whole new life in order to play this character, because what you pulse out is what you get back. The universe doesn't care what you want. It cares who you are. It only is giving you a feedback system of the character that you're playing, and it can only provide you with the things that that character has. So if you want to change your character, you've got to start practicing. And it's annoying how much you have to practice, because again, think about your age, the age that you are right now, and think about how long you've been practicing this character that you're playing right now. Because I promise you, this is just a character. This isn't even who you are. You are so much more than the person that you have been. So if you want to start practicing more of who you are, then how do we practice? So we saw my son, he's throwing the ball. Well, obviously that's how you do baseball. But how do you practice becoming a different character? Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to be more present. Because if you're not present in what you're thinking about, then you will keep throwing that same old throw. You will keep saying the same old words. Your language won't change. Your thoughts won't change. Your beliefs won't change. Your mannerisms won't change. And the people, places, circumstances, and events that you get in your life will only go up and down. They won't actually change for the better. They'll just kind of, good things will come, bad things will come, and it will just be, oh, so is life. So the first thing that you can do is that you can be more present in your body. And that means that you need to ground yourself more often. When you're grounded in your body, you are a complete circuit. You're like plugged into the wall instead of being battery operated, because your body is electricity, the earth is electricity, and we need to conduct ourselves into that electricity so we are flowing through basically source energy, physical body, and Mother Earth. We want that circuit to be really, really locked in, which means that you've got to get in your body. A lot of people who feel overwhelmed, disoriented, are just slightly outside of their bodies, and they're not grounded, and therefore you can't be present as easily as if you're grounded. So first thing to do is ground. Then once you ground, you want to get an emotional chart, right? And you want to look at all of the different emotions, the highs and the lows, and you want to look and say, okay, this is where I chronically am. Wow, I'm chronically in worry. Okay, that's the character I've been practicing. That's the emotion that I have been practicing. So if I want to not be worried, I don't go out and get a different job. I don't try to win the lottery. I actually have to change my emotional state of being. I have to change how I feel. So, and people were like, well, if you're worried, how do you not be worried? You can't ignore your worries. And I say, yes, you can. Because there is one emotion that will rescue you. No matter where you are, no matter what's happening in your life, no matter how bad or how worried you are, there is one emotion that is your lifeline. And this is going to be the emotion that you are going to practice every single day to become the new character of your choice. And that emotion is gratitude. Gratitude is the highest frequency and vibration that a human can emit from its body, from its mind, from its soul on the planet. Okay, gratitude. You can't always find ecstasy. You can't always find joy. You can't always find love. But I promise you, even in your darkest hours, you can find gratitude. Gratitude is your lifeline. So the next time that you are worried, what you have to do is be present enough to realize that you're worried, first and foremost, because worry is something that's happening so automatic to you. You have no clue what's happening half the time. Your body's in fight or flight. Your adrenal glands are completely shot, and you're stuck in survival, even when your life is going well. So the next time you worry and you're present for it, what I want you to do is I want you to stop, take a deep breath, and move right into gratitude. I don't care if it's that you have legs to walk around with. I don't care if it's I have a car to drive to this crappy job in, or that I have people who love me. I have food to eat today. I have eyes to see the world. Whatever it is that you need to stop and shift into, you need to move into gratitude immediately. And you need to start practicing. So what that means is I've got to get present. I've got to start practicing gratitude every single time I'm worried, meaning I have to go from worry to gratitude. So it's the exact same thing I was witnessing on the baseball field. The body was starting to throw in its old way, And the consciousness had to be present enough in the body to realize that the body was on automatic, stop the process, and move into a different feeling, a different command, a different intention. And you have to do this over and over and over and over and over again until basically, just like a muscle, the body begins to replace gratitude with worry. And as you're doing this in your practicing state, what's happening is you are raising your vibration. And when you raise your vibration, you become a match to higher vibrational things, higher vibrational people, higher vibrational opportunities, circumstances, and events. And so as you're just in your grounded state of being, practicing gratitude, your entire character moves into a grateful person. And a grateful person is an extremely abundant person. Abundance, gratitude, appreciation, love, joy, right? Because I promise you, if you're feeling horrible, like, oh, yeah, I just lost my job, and you move into gratitude and you think, well, I'm actually kind of grateful because I hated that job, or I'm grateful that I can just be alone today and work through some things. I'm grateful that I have this supportive family member that's just really standing by my side, or I'm grateful that I can get unemployment for a while. I don't care. Fill in the blank. If you could find gratitude in your darkest hours, you will manifest the life of your dreams very quickly. So think about when you learn to drive a car. You know, you read the book, you read the manual, you took the test, you got behind the wheel. Completely different than reading the book. Just like reading all these law of attraction books is completely different than actually living and breathing and practicing it. You've got to now be aware of all this oncoming traffic. Well, that's not in your book. You know, people who are running out in front of your car is not going to be in the book that you studied in how to drive. You know, signals, you know what red light, green light means, but what happens if you pull up to a signal and the signal's not working and you've got to use now, oh, what does it mean if the signal's not working? I got to treat this like a stop sign, right? So you have to do the same thing with your consciousness. So you can study all this law of attraction stuff, you can study all of this vibrational stuff, but until you actually start practicing it, you have no clue what it all means. You become a master when you are in a worried train of thought and you get present very quickly and realize, whoa, I'm doing it again. Stop, move into gratitude, and then hold yourself into gratitude as long as you can, and then keep going back into gratitude, going back into appreciation, going back into happiness, going back into joy, going back into self-love, and going back into all of these things. And what's going to happen is as you become a more confident driver, right? Just like you have to practice to become a good driver, you have to become practiced in manifesting. And I will tell you that most people do not have the attention span or the willingness to do this. That is why in this society we have elite people. We have people who are celebrity. We have people who are great at sports. We have people who are in leadership positions. And I will tell you, the only difference between that person and anyone else is practice. You know, someone who's a musician, I can promise you, thousands upon thousands of hours they have practiced. Someone who sings, thousands and thousands of hours. Someone who public speaks, thousands and thousands of hours. When I first started doing this, I had a fear of public speaking that I had to overcome, or at least my old character had that fear. And I used to practice in front of my daughter's stuffed animals on the bed. And then it became so comfortable that it didn't matter if one person or 5,000 people were in front of me. I knew how to do it. My body was in sync. My body knew how to do it, just like learning how to throw a baseball pitch. So you've got to practice, and you've got to practice higher vibrations. You're really, really, really good at being on autopilot, practicing all of your old belief systems, feelings, and unless you get present and start to ground yourself in your body and take back your thinking, then nothing is ever really going to change for you, okay? Nothing. You might have a different house, a different job, a different car, but nothing will feel differently. You won't feel better about it. You won't see yourself more lovingly. You could lose 100 pounds, and if you, on a quick fix diet, and literally still feel disgusting. So it's not about trying to get things through action. It's not trying to get the different jobs so that you will feel better. It's about practicing in complete delusion, basically, thoughts and feelings that you're not comfortable or used to feeling. Like you're not comfortable in gratitude yet. You're not comfortable in joy. You don't know what that feels like to be moment by moment joy. You might have had brief moments of joy, but is your life joyful? Is your bank account exciting? Is your health vibrant? Do you have time to do the things that you want to do? And the only thing that you need to do is practice. Practice opening up your intuition. Practice. And another word for practice is pretend. And that is a word that most people are like shy away from because they think it's not okay to pretend. Well, that's bull. Because if you're going to learn how to be a deliberate creator of your reality, you've got to learn to pretend to be something else. Because you are pretending right now to be the victim. You've practiced that enough times where now the pretending is a real character. So you've got to practice it. You've got to think in gratitude. You've got to think in joyful thoughts. You've got to dress differently if you need to. Be dressed differently in the character that you want to become. Dye your hair the color of, what you want to be. I mean, I'm not saying use chemicals, but I'm just saying, do something for yourself that changes your identity on the outside while you're practicing working on the inside, because your body is so used to being you that your brain is 10 minutes ahead of you. Your brain can predict your next move 10 minutes before you've even thought of it. That's how comfortable your brain is with your character. And if your brain is that comfortable with your character, do you realize how comfortable law of attraction is with your character? Law of attraction knows your character in and out. You may say, oh, I'm going to be hopeful and I'm going to start this diet exercise today and I'm going to start this. And by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you haven't done anything. The universe is saying, that's exactly, what you say 1 minute is not who you are. What you live and breathe, your behavior behind closed doors, your self-sabotaging, lifestyle that you have, that's what law of attraction is accustomed to. So when you start practicing a new way to be, that's where the timing comes in. That's why people say, oh, it takes a long time to manifest. The universe is just watching to see if you're really changing. It's watching to see if you're just, consciously saying you want something, or if you're living and vibrating what you want. And it takes a little bit of time. And what I've noticed is the universe likes to work in 3 days, 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 weeks, 3 months. And depending on how good you become at practicing your skills, think about it. You went to school for how long to become what? And most people won't even go to the school of themselves to practice who they want to become. You give up. Oh, this is hard. Oh, I can't stop worrying. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, if you're not really ready to do it, then your life is never really going to change. And that's okay. That's your choice too. But if you're like me, I wanted instant results. And so when I started literally living in gratitude moment by moment by moment by moment by moment by moment, and then when I would worry, I would really go into appreciation. It was hours. It was less than months where life started to just change around me because my character became grateful and creative and inspired and helpful and service-oriented instead of the victim mindset. And now today, my life is completely night and day versus what it used to be. And that's why people who maybe knew me 20 years ago and see what I'm doing for a living, they can't put the pieces together because they still associate me with my old character. They're like, what? How to cheat? No. Because they don't know how to change themselves. So they don't think that anybody else can really change. But all you are is focused imagination. That's all you are. And it's all holding the body together. And everything that you've ever been through is stored in your body at a cellular memory, and that's where all the automatic thinking comes in, because your body knows what you've been through. It knows who your mother thinks you are. It knows who your friends think you are. And it has no real clue on who you think you are because you've not really taken back that personal power and really defined who you choose to be. You are not a product of the past. You are a product of your last thought, your last feeling. And you will find that as soon as you start going into appreciation and gratitude and start raising your vibration, things will start to shift very quickly. You know, they say the average healthy weight loss is 2.5 pounds a week. Well, you don't really notice that in the beginning. You don't really notice that when you're first starting to lose weight. But when it gets to about 10, 13, 12 pounds, you start to notice it. So you've got to have patience with the universe, because the universe has to go in and redesign your entire life in the background. Backstage, it has to get a bunch of new characters ready and new opportunities ready and new events ready. And it's got to do that through people, places, circumstances, and events, which means timing is very important, which means you have to hold your frequency. You've not just got to hold your frequency of yourself and your thoughts and your thinking. You've got to have a high vibrational house. You've got to have a high vibrational car, high vibrational, situation at work, which means if you're around toxic people, you need to stop giving them your attention. If you've got toxic family, you need to change that relationship for a good 30 days and be less available. And you don't owe anyone an explanation of this, because I will tell you that the power of influence is so strong that when you're trying to change your mindsets and change your belief systems and change your behavior and change your thinking patterns, if you're constantly that person who needs to tell everybody what you're doing and get advice from everybody, then you've got serious trust issues with your own intuition, and you're going to fall out and go back into your old programming very quickly, because this is a very, very important personal process. This has nothing to do with your friends and family believe in this or not. This is whether or not this resonates at a core level for you, and it is something that is done pretty much in private. Because people expect you to worry because that's what good people do. That's not true. That's not true if you're living in the fourth and fifth dimension. If you're living in the third dimension, then you go and you work your 40 hours a week and you retire after 65 and you're a good citizen and you take care of all the things that you need to take care of. Well, if you live in the fourth and fifth and sixth dimension, then you are a deliberate creator of your reality, and you are going to say, okay, that's great for you, but I believe I can have anything I want. I can create anything I want, including health, time, money, relationships, purpose, art, crafts, whatever I want to create, I can create. But you've got to get away from the old programming, which means you got to start living a little bit differently. I even recommend in my workshops that you start brushing your teeth with the other hand and brushing your hair on the other side, and change the way you dress. And because the thing is what you're doing is you're telling your body, hey, we're changing. We're more present. You got to be more present to brush your hair on the other side. You got to be more present to brush your teeth on the other side. Every time you worry, you got to go to gratitude. You got to go to appreciation, right? Every time you're angry, you want to ask yourself, why am I really sad under here? What's going on? So this is all about personal processing, and if you could start practicing this, your life will change fast. It will rise way above your expectations of even something that you can imagine. And the reason why I know this is because before I started teaching professionally, I did this in solitude for about 2 years. I had my little one-on-one clients, but I didn't make a name for myself until I knew that this was true. I practiced this, and I didn't have a teacher, so it took me longer because it was a lot of trial and error, and there was a lot of toxic things in my life that keep pulling on my attention strands. But once I actually started doing it and saying, okay, for the next 3 weeks, every time I worry, I'm going to go to gratitude. And I'm going to hold that feeling of gratitude in my body. And I'm going to stay there. And I'm going to walk around my house. And I'm going to appreciate all the things that I do have. And I'm going to appreciate the money that I do have. And I'm going to appreciate the health that I do have. I'm going to appreciate the little time that I do have. And I'm going to milk it. And I'm going to milk it. And all of a sudden, got more money. Got more time. Health improved. And the people around me, even in my present life, it wasn't like the universe brought me all new people, but the people who were in my life started to change. They started to accept me more. They started to when I would be more authentic, they wouldn't be judging me for it. So I know this works. I would not be teaching. I would not be doing any of the work that I'm doing right now if I didn't believe this, practice it, and live it. So the difference between having what you want and wanting what you want is practice. Practice makes you a master. And just like anything that you want to achieve, you've got to teach your body how to do it, teach your mind how to think it, and teach your soul who you choose to be, because again, you do have free will choice. You can choose to be the victim. You can choose to be the martyr. You can choose to be the one that things just don't work out for you. Or you can say, okay, well, I'm tired of playing that character. Sit down, define who this character needs to be, and start practicing. And then all of a sudden, as you're busy practicing, the universe is busy filling your life with a completely new set, circumstances, events, and people. I hope this podcast was helpful for you today. I went very quick, so you might have to listen to it again. Again, this is mostly for my students who are taking the class, but I want to make sure that if they're going to make it out of my class, they have got to start walking their talk, which means if they're going to be life coaches, I do not want them to sit across from people and spout out information based on the universe and not be able to look under a microscope at their own lives and see a byproduct of an example. We need to be the example as coaches and teachers. We need to be examples as mothers and fathers. We need to be the example, not the one who goes and preaches to you all of this really cool information that you found on YouTube and then not being able to live any of it. And I remember that day exactly where I was learning all of this, and of course I wanted to tell my husband everything and how he needed to be thinking and how he needed to be feeling, and oh my gosh, we both needed to be doing this. And he looked at me and he goes, when you start manifesting stuff, I will listen to you. And that was like a moment where I was like, wow, I need to move out of the teacher and move back into student, and I really need to walk my talk. And I really need to stop preaching and stop trying to change everyone's lives around me just because I have this awesome information. And I need to start practicing it and let my manifestations speak for themselves. Because what happened was I started to manifest everything I ever wanted, and people started to ask me how I did it. And that's actually how I became a teacher. So I hope this was helpful. Listen to it many times as you need. If you are a student, then make sure that you put this in your file for something to refer back onto. And obviously it's information we're covering one-on-one in class as far as practicing this as homework. So feel free to make notes and keep your proof journal and all of these things that we do in class. And for you, all of you that are listening out there who are not students, you do not need to be a student in order to practice this mastery. You just need to get focused on the opposite of how you have been. If you want to change something, you have to become something different. Until next time, I will talk to you later.
Thank you for joining Jessica on this transcending episode. Email us directly at jessicaalstrom@gmail.com with your questions and personal challenges you would like addressed on the show. And join us on next week's podcast. You are not alone, and remember, your higher self speaks to you through people, places, circumstances, and events.